Hi, everybody. It's Jennifer Filzen and Jennifer Gordon. And what's really fun, small trivia, I'm Jennifer Ann Filzen and she's Jennifer Ann Gordon. So, hey, Jennifer Ann's in the house.
What? Are you Ann with an E? Are you a Jennifer Ann? An
I'm
A
like,
and N.
no E. But still, though, and here's the funny thing. I never cared for the name Ann. I don't know why. Not that it bothers you, or it's just for me, it was like Ann.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't love it for forever. I tried to embrace it by embracing my inner Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, I like
So
that.
that I can embrace, but I always felt like I always grew up with friends. First of all, our names are Jennifer, both of us. So it's like, oh, everyone's name is Jennifer. And then my middle name's Anne. I had other Jennifer friends who's like, my middle name is Olivia. Or like, my name is Phoebe. And I'm like, why could I not? Like, oh, my name's Jennifer Ann. But when I became an author, there was already another Jennifer Gordon. So I was like, I'll just be Jennifer Ann Gordon when I published my first book. And then I thought, oh, I could have picked a cooler name, but it's
Ah,
kind of too late now.
well, it's funny too with the name Jennifer. You're right. Like I don't know about you, but I was born in 1970, and apparently that was like when almost all the Jennifer, like it was the beginning. It's like the name
It was,
John.
yeah,
It's like,
it was
uh,
the beginning of the end for Jennifers. I
oh,
feel
was it?
like, I think, well, like the beginning of the end of our individuality, I should say.
Oh, I see what you. Well, and then the song Jennifer Juniper
Yeah.
was incessantly in the house. But yeah, it was funny because my Jennifer Ann really never came up unless my mother was really mad at me and she used the
Yeah.
full name, and I was like, oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that is trouble. Yeah, so when I was born in the later 70s, late 70s, and by then Jennifer had already been the most popular name for I want to say 9 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And my parents, I think they thought and just assumed that they were going to have a boy, and I was supposed to be named after my father. I was supposed to be Andrew James Gordon III. And then I remember the story because my dad was like, well, we should think of a girl name just in case. And my mom came up with things like Melody Ann, Kellyanne, Marianne. And he was like, none of that. None of those are good. And then I think they just like opened a baby book and said, oh, Jennifer's popular. We won't need the name. Don't worry. And then it was like, oh,
Okay. So here's a fun one. So my best friend is a Jennifer,
of course
and
she is.
of course, and we were in middle school together. That's when we met, seventh grade. And between the two of us, there were like 40 Jennies in our class.
Yeah.
And to differentiate myself, I always grew up as a Jenny with an IE. And
Oh, that is good.
well, it was cool, but it wasn't because nobody spelled my name properly. Like do you pass the test? How well do you really know me? How do you really spell Jenny? So as soon as like somebody would write a Y on it, I didn't think that note or that message was for me. It was for all the other
It could have been
Jennies.
any other girl in your school. Yeah, I remember in high school, I had like three really good friends, all Jens. We had a Jen P. She was Jen with one N and a P. I was Jen with two N's and a G. Then we had a Jennifer, and then we had a Jenna.
Oh, I like that, Jenna. That's a cool.
Jenna's good. Jenna's a very so and then there was just but then you would meet other Jennifers and we'd be like, how do you spell your name? And she'd be like, I'm two N's. I'm Jen with two N's. And we're like, we've already got a Jen with two N's. We already have a Jen, like once you get a Jenny, a Jenna, a Jen with one N, a Jen with two N's, and a Jennifer, you're done. You
Yeah.
can't have any more.
Then you got to have the nicknames. So my best friend, Jennifer Lee Barnes, Barney, and she
Fun.
predated Purple Dinosaur, so she was way
That's
before the Purple Dinosaur. And I was, believe it or not, this was blonde hair at one point. It was. It's just that I'm in a cold climate and I don't see the sun as much. So anyway, and hormones, right? So I think we just
and
get
hormones.
older. But I was Blondie and she was Barney, and so and the funny thing too is that we also called her the redheaded stepchild because she practically lived with us. even though her parents loved her. It's just we were just like, come on, come on, come play. And what's funny is that over time, as she got older, she got more blonde and I got more red. Like,
It's
so
weird.
joke that we really are sisters somehow.
Yeah, you're like changelings or something. Yeah, I tried to rebrand myself as a J, just like J. I think I was like in fifth and sixth grade, but I wasn't cool. So me saying like, "Hi, call me J," was just people
Yeah.
going like, "No, thank you." And I would sign notes J, like Jay, not even just the initial J. Like I
Oh,
and they're like you can't give yourself a nickname, and I tried, and it didn't work. And then I switched schools and I tried it again, and still people were like, no.
oh my God, I'm loving this. Oh my gosh, you are so much fun. Okay, okay. So here's everybody. Here's how we met. Okay, so she is an author and she works with the Creative Edge. And so, as you guys have known, we've been interviewing a few people from Creative Edge. And so it was like, of course I'll hang out with you. Of course. So my very first question, besides the not so unique name of Jennifer, what makes you special and unique? Come on, spill your guts. Tell us all about you.
So I think everybody's special and unique, but I think I am special and unique because I am a writer. I'm a horror author, but I'm also a professional ballroom dancer. And my favorite dances are things like the waltz and the foxtrot. And I'm pre-COVID, when I was dancing professionally all day, every day. As you could tell, I'm kind of an upbeat, bubbly type of person. And then my first book came out, and all of my students who know me as "Hi" bought my book, and they read it, and they were just like, "What is wrong with you?" So there was like a little bit of a disconnect between who they thought I was, and then they're like reading this book, and they're just like, "That is dark and also sad, and maybe you should get a therapist." So I don't think there's a lot of horror novelists, ballroom dancers. And I also did burlesque dancing too. But
So I'm just kind of curious because my husband is very similar, very laid back, doesn't get riled up about anything, but is an artist. When he does his comic books, he'll come up with some shit. It's like, what? So Gemini, the total evil twin.
yeah,
Kind of. Are you a Gemini?
I'm not. I'm a Leo, which if you, because of course I am. Look at my hair.
That's awesome.
But I love that you asked if I was a Gemini, because I always feel like I have like Gemini qualities, because weird story, I was supposed to be a twin, and then maybe I absorbed that twin. I don't know. I might be a chimera, who knows? But so
Kind of
but yeah, it's kind of creepy and cool. So I have like this Gemini twin vibe in my brain. And so maybe it's the twin that's writing the horror books, or maybe it's the twin that's the ballroom dancer.
no, that is really cool. Oh my God, so much to unpack.
So
So much.
your husband does comic books? I owned a comic book store for years. I
Yeah.
love comics.
Oh my God, so much cool stuff. See, this is why I love connecting with new people.
Synergy.
Meet the coolest people. So, where do you
Hmm. Of course, you did like the waiter thing, like I was just taking a sip of something. No, that's okay. I live in New Hampshire right now.
live? In New Hampshire. So, you had your comic book store in New
Mm,
Hampshire?
no, I had it in Columbus, Ohio. I actually owned it with an ex of mine.
Wow, how cool is that?
It was
So,
great.
yeah, Renee grew up, following all the stuff, and he is just an incredibly talented artist. So he is doing all of his own
Oh,
proprietary
that's so perfect.
stuff because everyone can do fan art, but you can't make any money off of it because that's
No.
right. And so for a while there, he was aiming at trying to, get hired on by a major name or publishing company. But really over the years, he's like, you know what? I'm all into creating my own stuff. And so, yeah, reneeariola.com.
Oh, I will look him up. You
And
know, I love indie comics. I dabbled in writing an indie comic, but it's so hard if like so I'm not a sequential artist.
right.
It's so hard to find somebody to collaborate with,
Yes.
to
Yes.
have it be like a true partnership. Like comic writers and comic artists, like that is a marriage.
Yes.
You have to, you both have to give and take. It's really hard. A lot of artists that I met over the years were basically like hired guns. They'd be like, I'll draw whatever you want if you pay me like $200 a page. And I'm like, but I'm also poor. can can we collaborate and have it be our project and not just me telling you what to do? But I didn't write superhero stuff, so I think it was again really hard to find people who wanted to draw either, I don't want to say boring horror, but no gore, nothing weird, like no capes, no anything, mostly just, people sitting around and talking, and maybe there's ghosts. A lot of artists that back in the day, I couldn't find people who were just who wanted to draw talking heads and atmosphere. They wanted every page to be a splash page, every page to be a guy punching through a wall.
Yeah. Well, you never know because try again if you are feeling so inclined because finding that yeah, of course Avengers and DC and the various superhero stuff is popular, but man, there are so many cool indie comics out there that are
Yes.
like Why the Last Man
Oh, see, I loved Y the Last Man.
was a great series.
It's a
That's
great series.
person series and I am all into the really great story and it was so soap opera-esque but not.
Yeah, it's, and comics in general, even the superhero stuff, I always called it, back in the day before there were too many women who were really involved in comics, I was like, comic books are just soap operas for boys, is what I thought. Like when I was little buying comic books and people were like, why are you reading comic books? Weird, Jennifer. You
We were ahead of our time. I know.
know?
I love that traditionally men do. I own a marketing agency and we cater to the auto repair industry. I can write about brake repair like nobody's business. I don't turn a wrench, but I like cars. And they're like, how did you? I'm like, I like cars. Cars are ubiquitous as part of the American culture. Like, what's
Yeah,
hello?
I know. It's weird. It's weird. I think when people have expectations of what you're supposed to like and what you should like, and then especially like, you and I are of a similar age, probably within like a 10-year, 9 or 10 year like age range. Like we were raised in, like I was a kid in the 80s. Like people weren't already thinking really progressively even in the 80s or the 90s, to be honest, or up until pretty recently.
Well, yeah, and it's true. And we do stand like I was born in 70, so I'm 50. I'll be turning 51 this year. And yeah, I mean, I recognize that I'm standing on the shoulders of the progressive thinking women who came ahead of me, right? And so yeah, it is and it's interesting. It's I think who I am is largely part of no, Jenny, you can't do that. You're a girl.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think I even found that when I first started writing a billion years ago, like as a kid, I was in sixth grade. I remember my teacher said, my male teacher had us just write any short story we wanted. It was just like literally gave us no guidance. I wrote what I didn't realize at the time was fan fiction. I wrote a version of Nightmare on Elm Street where Freddy Krueger and Nancy kind of had this like forbidden love affair. Like it was basically Edward Scissorhands, except really disgusting. And I turned it in like thinking, this is what I should be writing because it's what I want to write. And I remember my teacher just wrote the word no on it. I didn't even get a grade. It was just like just no. And I was like, do you want me to redo the assignment? And he was like, mm. No, like it's fine. It won't count against your grade, but and that was kind of the first time that I thought, what about what I just did was wrong? Besides that it was copyright infringement.
Well, it was probably totally didn't expect.
Yeah, I think it was. And it wasn't that gross because I am very squeamish for a horror author. And I was like 11. So, and I didn't really have any understanding of gore, and I had never seen Nightmare on Elm Street besides being on TV. So I had like
Oh my God, those are
no
some.
understanding of the story.
All right, so I have to unpack this. All right, so you love horror. Like
Yes.
I cannot even listen to the music as it's
Oh.
lining up for the horror. Like I can't do it.
See, I love it, but I'm very squeamish when it comes to blood.
Yeah.
So, like, that's what I love gothic horror and psychological horror, but anytime it gets too gory, like my poor husband, like, watches things with me where, like, I'm just covering my eyes the entire time and blocking my ears. And I'm like, are they doing something to the eyeballs? Like, if it's the eyeballs, I need to leave the room. And he's like, it's just two people talking. And I'm like, I feel like an eyeball thing is going to happen. And we've done this in a movie theater. Like he's like, why do we go see these things that like the entire time you're like, I'm gonna pass out. I hope Pennywise doesn't poke somebody's eyeball out.
But you just love it, huh?
I do. I do. Like once it's done, I'm like, whoa, I survived that. Like, look at
Oh,
me.
is that kind of what inspires you? Because like for me, it's like okay, I like cars, but I don't want to get in a super fast car. Like I almost vomited when I did a hot lap with a race car driver around. A hot lap is when they take you around a
Oh,
minute
oh,
tour
I know what it is. My dad was a race car driver.
because I didn't want anybody listening like a hot lap. You mean a lap?
I know, I'm like, it's because I said burlesque earlier, and it's like, and then I went into a car and gave somebody a hot lap.
Oh,
You
baby. But no, I mean, I was in the car. I didn't realize what a hot lap was, and then I was discovering it, and I was just like, oh my God. But like, I'm with a professional race car driver, and I was just like, I didn't, I can't, I just can't. I'm too empathetic, and I'm too motion sensitive, and it's the music. Every time I can't even watch fiction. I have to be very selective with what I watch because I'm so empathic and I feel things so deeply.
So I love that about you. So I love horror. I really do because I feel like I've survived something.
That's
The
cool.
horror I write is very psychological, and it is mostly um mostly grief oriented, grief and like trauma, not gross trauma, but the things that shape us when we're kids or teenagers that after a while in our heads start to play over and over again until they almost become a horror story. So, yeah, I deal a lot with like my ghost stories are ghost stories, but they're also really stories about guilt, survivor's guilt, about not being able to let go of a choice you made,
Huh.
about not being able, about feeling that maybe you didn't love somebody enough, and that can come back to haunt you. So, it's definitely horror, but a lot of like people who want a slasher will read my books and go, "What the this wasn't horror." Just because there's a ghost doesn't make it horror. And then I have people who don't read horror who read it and go, "It was just too much for me to get through. I was petrified the whole time." So I always say it's like grief horror or literary horror or
That is
there's
amazing.
no axe murderers or killer clowns or monsters.
I think where you scare the shit out of people is because they realize that it could happen to them.
Yeah.
It, it's really close to home.
Like
That
I just finished writing a short story, which I don't usually do, but I got inspired to write a werewolf story. So I thought, how do I write a werewolf story? And I wrote about a woman who was pregnant, who had suffered a miscarriage in the past, but she has bipolar disorder, so she has to go off her meds while she's pregnant. And she becomes convinced because she's had a miscarriage in the past that her baby is a werewolf inside of her. So that's the horror I write. Like I take something, it's usually very like I don't want to say woman oriented because I do write a lot about men, but I take something that is kind of a core fear for people, losing a child, you know, losing a loved one, having to remember something you don't want to remember. I take that and then I just explode it out of the my characters. So
Oh,
I put them through hell.
that is amazing. So, okay, so my mom is an author. She does historical fiction,
I love historical fiction.
really Civil War historical fiction.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a true horror story right there. You don't even have to add anything weird, and that can be a horror story.
Well, anyway, she did this rape scene, and I could not.
Oh,
I had to put the book down, and I didn't touch it for weeks. And before I could even pick up the book again, I called her. I'm like, "How did you write this? Like, how?" And she goes, and she, I'll never forget it. She just kind of started giggling. She goes, "I love writing the bad guys."
were you like, did you throw up a little bit because it's your mom?
No, but it's fascinating how even, oh, here's another one. I was just finishing The Education of Little Tree. Education of Little Tree is by Forrest Carter. And this was like the third time I had read it, but this time I just finished it like a couple. Anyway, it's just a sweet little story about a little Native American boy who's Cherokee, and he grows up with his grandparents, and it's very sweet. And there's a lot of beautiful little lessons in here. And at the end of this book, I was like, I wonder who this Forrest Carter guy is. And so I looked it up. Turns out that this is like just a pseudonym. His real name was Asa Earl Carter or something, and he was like a major person within the Ku Klux Klan, like the last person you would ever expect.
What?
I know. So as I'm like, no, this can't be the right person, and then I would dig down even deeper, and I was like, oh my God, the person who is like this wrote this. Like it was it was one of those things, and it goes along with what we were saying earlier. It's like just because you think you know somebody doesn't mean that you necessarily know somebody. And
Yep.
especially them to your creativity, your imagination, the abilities to create storytelling. It doesn't necessarily mean that that is a reflection of who you are. It is
No.
it is imagination, and it's just absolutely brilliant, and also like weird that like somebody who is so white supremacist would write such a beautiful piece.
That's so scary.
I mean,
That's scary to me. Yeah, I think art in all of its forms, whether this is writing or painting, drawing, dancing, all of it is a way, I think, for me to express something that maybe in my overly verbose life, I cannot express like talking. Like I'm from New England, we keep everything inside emotionally, you know, but it has to come out somewhere, which is why, like I love the tango and I write horror novels.
amazing, amazing.
I, resting bitch face.
Yeah, that is kind of the tango look, isn't it?
It is. I know people are always like, you have such a great tango face. I'm like, that is just my face. I I wasn't doing a thing. I was just concentrating on the steps. Not even in character.
So how did you get into ballroom?
Oh gosh. So I got into ballroom late in life for a dancer, which everybody told me over and over again how late in life I got into ballroom dancing. I got into it when I was 30. Um, I danced when I was a kid, then I blew out both my knees. So I had to stop dancing when I was like 12, 13. I went to school for theater, so I always performed. I was always on stage. I danced,
But not, yeah.
not danced. And I certainly never danced with a partner. So I lived about a block from a Fred Astaire dance studio. And I wanted to go so, so, so bad. I was in a marriage at the time and it was not going awesome. And true story, that not awesome relationship, he bought me a gift certificate and I thought, we're going to take dance lessons together. And then he didn't want to do it. I just had this gift certificate. And I feel like it was like one of those things where he was like, that's enough. I got you the gift certificate. I tried. Um, so then I waited a year and a half, and he was definitely not going to dance with me. And this dance studio started calling my house, like, are you going to redeem this gift certificate? And I thought, screw it. Yes, I'm going to redeem this gift certificate, even if I have to go by myself. And I was so petrified because I'd never danced in somebody's arms before. It seemed so weird and intimate. And again, the relationship had already kind of, was running its course. And I went and I took a dance lesson, and I met the person I'm now married to,
I love it.
which is
I
um, which
love
is
it.
amazing. But we did not date or anything for many years, like 3 years. We didn't date or anything like that. But yeah, I started dancing that first lesson, and I loved it. It was, and again, for somebody who's overly verbose at times, to be able to communicate without talking,
Isn't that cool?
oh, it was everything my soul needed that I didn't know it needed.
Yeah. And are you able to dance at all with your sweetie during
He's
COVID?
um every once in a while. We don't have room in our house. We live in a very small house. We take care of my elderly mother. We have pets. It's not conducive to real dance, but we have since COVID danced a few times on people's decks in somebody's driveway, but we
Yeah.
haven't like real danced
Right.
in, a while. In a really long time. Our dance studio closed down, and
Yeah.
we've had to both kind of pivot our careers. We didn't have a backup plan. We were just like, we're going to be ballroom dancers, and eventually we're going to own a dance studio. And then a pandemic hit, and we thought, oh gosh, I probably should have paid more attention in college to things to do.
No, thank you for letting me know about that. So I've always had my marketing business. He's always had his graphic design. So we've
Mm.
always had that. And then the dance business that the dance company has always been the hobby that paid for itself. So yeah, we also met in dance class. But my divorce was final, and we got married in the ballroom that we met at. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we got married during COVID, so
Oh
none
wow,
of our
recent.
yeah, we'd been together for like 10 years, but we just got married on Halloween.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
and
Happy
we kind of had to change everything that we thought our wedding was going to be. Like I bought this really amazing like old Hollywood dress. We were going to get married in an old vaudevillian theater. We were going to have a big band. Uh, and then we ended up getting married, and it was so beautiful. It was actually very perfect at this great bed and breakfast that used to cater to silent film stars, Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford. Um, this so old bed and breakfast, haunted. We got married with just a couple people outside on this druid stone in the woods. I wore my snow boots because it was freezing and it had just snowed under my dress. Not the epic dress, but I bought I had a different dress. I'm getting married outside dress, wearing a
birthday.
face mask.
Oh yes, yes. Well, good for you. Oh my gosh, how sweet. Yeah. So anyway, as the COVID pandemic is settling in, and we're like, what? And we all, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of us dancers thought, oh, this will just be a few weeks,
Yeah,
and then we'll be back to normal. Like we had, you know, planned on going to
events.
conventions and competitions
Yes.
and like dominoes, they all fell. And it was like, okay, I guess we're not doing this. And then, of course, I don't know about you if you know this or if you are involved in this, but when you're doing a big time dance convention, you are on the hook with your contract with the hotel. And if you bow out of the contract, then you are paying that deposit.
Oh, God.
And if the hotel backs out, then you can back out. But for the most part, a lot of events were
But
like,
the
we're
hotels aren't going to back out until the last possible minute.
right? And so it was truly like if we were still under state edict that nothing was going to happen, then it was like, okay, so this is going to, but we all had to kind of wait, like, so is Boogie by the Bay going to happen? Nope. Boogie
Yeah.
by the Bay can't tell you what's going to happen until we know what's going to happen. Like, and I'm in charge of all the volunteers for this massive event. So, like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, um, I used to compete when I worked for the Fred Astaire Corporation. We competed like regionally and interregionally. We competed all over. But then the past, we'll say 7 years, we stopped competing and we would just perform. I mean, we taught, but we performed a lot and we performed all over the country. And that sounds fancier than it is, but like we performed really great places, and it was a good chunk of our income,
yeah.
and the
Oh,
rest of our income was teaching. So then, like everything, like whew, I know, and I'm like, oh, my side gig is being an author. That's like, and being an author is great, but that's not like money, 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 money.
I know.
That's not electric bills being paid.
I found for me, being an author means I have a $20 business card and that it opens up the doors for other things, but it's not necessarily the moneymaker.
Yeah,
But you're right.
I've been lucky. I've had a few more than a few, but a good handful of very good months and a lot of not very good months. But just the fact that there have been, I think there's been at least 3 months that I said, I could pay my bills with this. Nothing more, but I could do it. So to me, that's a success because we're living in this weird like time where we don't know what the hell is happening.
Oh my gosh, are you like me? Have you like I used to make plans, and now I don't make plans because now every time I've ever made plans, thinking, oh, this will be okay. I can make these plane tickets. I can do this. No, no.
I just so it was on I think they call I had a vaccination high, I believe. So I got my first vaccine. My mom, who we take care of, she got her first vaccine, and my husband is scheduled for his in like a week. And I thought I could like taste freedom. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can feel it. And I love traveling more than anything. It's my passion. And I'm like, I can taste a vacation. Like I can feel it. So then I did this research and I saw that Iceland doesn't let anybody in or out unless they're fully vaccinated. And I'm like, so then I Google things like, what is the cheapest time of year to go to Iceland? And I'm like, oh, it's October. That could be like our wedding anniversary. And next thing I know, I've accidentally booked 5 days in Iceland, literally like still like fever shaking from my COVID vaccine. I just like shouted to my husband, I'm like, want to go to Iceland in October? He's like, sure.
I can so relate. Back in oh God, it was fall. It was fall of 2020. We were supposed to go see our friends. Every year we teach West Coast Swing in Maui.
Oh my gosh.
It's so we have such a great
Yeah, that
family.
doesn't suck.
No, it didn't. And they're wonderful, and they really are like family to us. So we were assuming, oh yeah,
By
by
fall, it'll be fine.
well, yeah. So no, it was fall of 2020. So by February of 2021, we should be
Oh,
fine,
yeah.
right? Well, technically things did open. It's just that the requirements to get into Hawaii were so high that it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
nah. And fortunately, the tickets were such that they all kind of were like, well, you can cancel if you need to, kind of thing. No penalty,
Yeah.
leave it for later. So it's okay, fine. But yeah, I'm with you. I have had my first shot. My husband has not had his first shot yet because he doesn't qualify just yet. And we're waiting. We're waiting. And
I
then
know. I qualified like 2 days before my husband qualified, and I was like up all night, like waiting for that moment that I knew it was going to like flip over. And I'm like, "Ugh." And I got my appointment 2 days later, and I'm like,
good.
yes. Uh, so then he qualified a few days after that, and his appointment is it's about like a week and a half from now.
Oh, that's great.
I've
That's
just
great.
never been so excited to get a vaccine in my life. I,
Oh, I know, I know. Oh, it's amazing.
I
So,
took my little sticker, like my I got vaccinated sticker, and I put it right on my passport. I was like,
see, it's
see,
official.
it's official.
Right? Yeah, it'll be really interesting, that whole vaccine passport. Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
So, okay, now you are so fascinating. I love we can be on here forever. Who do you serve in your life? Let's talk about that, because you've had a lot of pivoting, but you're taking care of your mom.
I am
So,
taking care of my mom.
so think about locally and then globally. Who are you serving?
Who am I serving? Of course, I start like as local as I can. I'm just going to start with my house because this is where I am all the time. And, I've been taking care of my mom now for about 7 years. She has a lot of health problems, a lot of physical problems, a lot of mental health issues. So, my family is my first utmost concern of like who I serve. Serve sounds so weird, but like this is who I protect and who I care for. It's why it's why when people said, you can still teach dance, we can rent out a space, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, I can't. Like I have these people in my life that I care for that.
You're their caretaker.
I am their caretaker. If I do something stupid and go to, Target just to try on sundresses, that could put somebody at risk. So, um, who I serve immediately is my family because I know, and my husband understands this too, if something were to happen to one of us, my mom doesn't have anybody. And then we have pets and things like that. So, of course, family. And then for years as a dance teacher, that was my community, the dance community. And I think you get this teaching dance is not about teaching dance at all.
Ooh, ooh, we're gonna jump into this. Yes, tell me what you're gonna finish, because this
Um,
I'm in
I
agreement.
mean,
So,
yeah, teaching dance is teaching everything. It depends on who the student is that walks in. I've had students who come in because they have lost a spouse who passed away, students who have been agoraphobic. I've had students who have literally one missing leg and never thought that they could dance at all. I've had a student who was 96 who ballroom danced with his wife in the 30s and won trophies, and he walked in, had his son walk him up the stairs and say, I have no idea the names of anything, but I remember my body remembers I used to dance. Can I just dance with you for an hour? So that is what teaching dance is. It's giving people who are grown-ups and who are not grown-ups sometimes, but a place to be. It's teaching relationships, it's teaching family, it's teaching chosen family instead of toxic family that you might have. It's teaching socialization that doesn't necessarily involve being in a bar, even though we drink at some of our dance events, but it's not, it's teaching safe physical interaction. So, as somebody who was a victim, like a trauma victim, myself in the past, it is about teaching people to touch another person in a way that's very healing, in a way that's non threatening. I've had students who have traumatic brain injuries, and it's about teaching repetition. It's and it's about teaching not judging people and community and love. So that's who I serve even now through my emails and my Zooms and conversation with my dance students who are still my family. That's still who I serve globally. I hope it's the readers, but that was a lot.
well, now that was beautiful. So your readers will catch up with you, but let's
Yeah.
focus on that dance community. Okay, you are absolutely 100% awesome, Jen. You nailed it. I discovered that too when we started teaching dance. I realized that we attract the people in transition.
Yeah.
The people in transition are looking for something to help them turn a new leaf and to heal. And that's what dancing is. It's healing,
It's
and it is
healing.
building.
It's communication. It's so so this gives me chills. I'm
It's
gonna,
self. and it's relationship strengthening, and it's reawakening love for each other. Like it's so much. It's life
It's
coaching.
it is. It's, you know, it is life coaching. And so many of my students over the years told me, they were like, you should be a therapist. You should be a social worker. You should be a psychologist. You
I
should
am
be, I
dance
am,
team.
I am all of those things. Um, I remember my very first ballroom dance lesson with the person who's now my husband. At the end of the lesson, he said, and he just kind of threw it off, but he said it and it made such an impact on me. He said, this can change your life if you let it. And he had no idea, as being somebody who was in an abusive relationship, which he didn't know, what that meant to me. And learning to dance at the ripe old age of 30, uh, it did change my life because it reminded me of who I was, like who I was supposed to be. It gave me my confidence back. It gave me my social skills back. Instead of just being trapped, cowering in a house, I was in the world again, and I was in the world of the dance community with people who were forgiving and loving, and, you know, and you get to wear cool outfits.
Yes. Okay. I am of the firm belief that a lot of divisiveness that is going on within our country and all over the globe, if we could all dance together,
Yeah,
we would end a lot of that conflict. For example, I do West Coast swing. I kind of know all of the other dances, Jen, but they don't trip
it's
my
okay.
they don't trip my trigger like West Coast swing does.
I love West Coast swing, but
Yay!
and I love it so much because I feel like West Coast swing, same thing with Argentine tango. They're so improvisational.
Yes,
I feel like these dances are a conversation
yes.
more than they are someone leading somebody else.
Which is why I like it because I get to
Yeah.
participate in the conversation.
Yes.
But we'll go to dance conventions that are also, country dancers as well.
Yeah.
And so politically, you might find that the West Coast swing dancers tend to lean more liberal, not all of them, but they tend
It's
to.
yeah,
And the country dancers tend to lean more conservative, not all, but we all get along beautifully
on the dance floor.
and dance with each other. We may
Yeah.
not see everything that we do in a tirade on Facebook, but what I'm saying is that we still love and respect and appreciate other because we have danced together and we're not
Yeah.
getting our hackles up because we know that this person is ultimately a good person.
And I also feel like it's very difficult to be angry at somebody when you're dancing, especially, I mean, just in general, it's very hard to be angry while you're dancing, but it's also, I love the process of, as a teacher, you're a teacher, of teaching people to communicate in this way together. Like, it's so good for relationships. It really is. Like, I remember when I worked in Ohio, there was a marriage counselor in town who I still don't even know who it was, but he was sending his clients to dance studios because he was like, before you get a divorce, just try it.
Nice.
And
Nice.
sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't because you can't cure everything. But there were times that I was teaching people and they would just be like laughing, crying, and saying, we haven't laughed in so long. Because dance puts you both at an even playing field. It's especially if neither of you have done it. That's like the key, is that there's nobody saying, I'm better than you at this. It's two people going, oh, we are terrible at this. And
Right.
then you get like some crazy teacher who's just like, now look at each other like they're a grilled cheese sandwich. Yeah. Now pat his chest. Yeah, look at her butt. And they're like, what? I'm like, come on, just do it. You know, just like pretend something.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh, I would sign up for your classes in a second. You sound like so much fun. So
I'm a pretty good dance teacher, I will not lie.
yeah, I love teaching beginners in particular.
Yes.
I have I also started kind of late. So I started dancing, period, at age 15. Like I didn't do the little tutu stuff when I was a little girl. I danced in front of the television, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to mimic, the
Yeah.
TV pictures on TV. But then, like 15, I was hoping to be with my fellow high school friends, but no, I was in the class with the seventh grader. Or no, sorry, the 7-year-olds. The 7-year-olds. I was like more
Ooh,
15 that I was like, but so and honestly, I would say my pirouettes suck. There's a lot of room for improvement in my dancing, but
yeah.
I also joke that of all the private lessons that I've invested in myself, I could have bought a house by now. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I
I
can't.
remember, yeah, when I was just a student and I was just like, shelling out money, um, it was worth it because it gave me the life I have now. But yeah, it's not inexpensive. And dancers and dance teachers of any level, really, we invest so much in that knowledge.
Oh,
People take for granted the fact that, you and I can dance the leader and the follower part.
yes,
I'm
yes.
like I can do 20 dances. Like this is why I can't remember what day of the week it is, but I can lead you through silver waltz if you wanted to.
Fantastic. And you're right. And leading and following is so much fun. I
It's
love being able to do both. You know what? My favorite part is, well, okay, there's two favorite parts. And I don't know about you because I don't know how much social dancing you get
oh yeah,
because
it's all we the past 7 years we've been at a social dance studio, so it's been freaking great.
you get I know that there are some ballroom folks that
Yeah,
don't social dance, but okay.
right. We
So
do.
I love to social dance because it's just so much fun engaging with a different person. It's a 3-minute love affair, is what I call
Yeah.
it. Dance with a person for 3 minutes. I totally get to fall in love with them, and then I say goodbye, and then I go to the next person, and I have so much fun encouraging them, smiling at them, having a blast. So I love that social component. And then as the night goes on, I get tired, or I might, get a jerk on my arm, and like I start to
Yeah.
feel a little broken. So I can switch from being the follower to the leader toward the end of the night because
Yeah.
there are always people that are tiring out. And there's always some poor lady or multiple ladies who've been sitting for a really
A
long time.
long time. Yeah, there's dances that I definitely prefer to lead most rhythm dances. I don't prefer to lead West Coast. I love West Coast, so I love to follow it. I prefer to lead cha-cha, rumba, regular swing. Um, I love to lead all the smooth dances too, but I prefer to follow in tango because I love it so, so much, and I prefer to follow in West Coast swing. I'm not a great West Coast swing lead. I'm good at teaching somebody to lead West Coast swing, but I'm not good at doing it myself. Before we finish today, I just have to tell you, because you're a West Coast swing dancer and teacher, I learned West Coast swing at a ballroom studio before I was like I want to say before I was ready to learn West Coast swing. And I remember thinking, why would somebody do this to somebody? And it was like, it was the sugar push and like a left side pass. And I'm
Ah,
like, this is terrible. Like, why am I just like running back and forth? And so I didn't get it. And then I used to go to this great dance that was put on by a hospital of all things. And it was like a huge ballroom. So it's dancers from all over the state. They tended to be older than I was. So older than 30, much older than 30. And a West Coast swing came on. And I sat down because I'd been dancing all night. And an older gentleman, a much, much older than me, definitely late 70s at best, came up to me and he was like, West Coast swing? And I said, I hate West Coast swing. And then he said, you just haven't been West Coasted properly. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know what that means. But then he brought me out onto the floor and he was like, you have all the control. He's like, you are a lady on the prowl. He's like, I'm just here trying to stop you from ruining my life. And I
ooh,
was like, oh. And really, he took it real slow. Like, honestly, we just did like a sugar push for so long and then just like a couple passes, but it was great. It was the first time I realized, oh, I can play. I can do stuff and not just like walk, tap, step, shuffle, anchor step or coaster step or triple step. And it was that moment that I thought, oh, I think I could like this dance.
Oh, isn't that
And now
fun?
I love it.
Yeah, because we are allowed to play and to add our own voice to the conversation. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
addictive. Yeah.
I always, when I teach it to beginners, I teach them, the sugar push. And I always tell the follower, I say, imagine you two, I tell them both, but I say, imagine you met in a bar last night. You went home together. You didn't want to, but you did. It was the greatest night of your life. She leaves your house the next morning, and you think, I think that woman might be crazy, but it was great. She comes back an hour later with a suitcase filled with all of her cats. She rings your doorbell, and you want to let her in because last night was so good, but you keep kind of pushing her away. But every time she gets close, she tosses another cat into your house. And and eventually there's going to be a lot of cats in there. And you're going to have to let her in. That's like the left and the right side passes, so she can maybe grab a cat and bring it out. Um,
Is
but
genius.
people loved it. They were just like, "How many cats
Do
do
the
I
sugar
have?"
and oh my God, you're teaching dance steps by this imagery. Holy shit, that's brilliant. Nice.
You can steal it. You can steal it. Plug my book when you steal it. Just be like,
Okay, for the people who don't know, okay, what she's talking about is the guy like bringing her in and then sending her back out. And so here's the lady with the cat. She's like, "Oh yeah, come on. You know you want me in your house. Oh
"Yep,
yeah. Oh, let me just put this cat over here. Oh yeah."
exactly." It's that. It's like so that it's how I taught like my followers to be like super aggressive, like especially if they were like, I'm gonna lead a pass, like a left or a right side pass, like really go for it. Get as far into the house as you can, chuck a cat in. If that cat's already like asleep in his bedroom, you've nested.
And that's how people get the stretch.
Yes, it's true. The elastic, this is the push and pull is what I love about West Coast. I could do the sugar push for like 45 minutes and never get bored because it's never the same thing twice.
Okay, I hope you get back into teaching because you are freaking genius. Holy crap, Jen. Damn, girl.
Well, I feel like we're going to go full circle. Remember at the beginning of this when you said, I do things because people say I can't? You said
Ooh,
that about like cars. So when I started dancing, I was 30, ballroom dancing when I was 30. My first boss in the ballroom dance world was like, like you're too old, you're too ugly, you're not going to be a good dance teacher.
what?
And I was like, watch me. And within 6 months, I was in the top 15 female dance teachers for the Fred Astaire Corporation in the country. So out of like 120 studios, I'm like, it's amazing what rage and spite can do when you want to use them for good, not evil.
Bit. Okay, so that's incredible. So when you say top 15 women, is that sales? Is that dance competitions? Is it all of the above? It is the
There were
number of
multiple categories. My specialty was getting new students. So I was like I don't want to say a beginner level, but that's the most important thing.
sign up for you in a second. You are good. You
I,
are
I
good.
love, like, my favorite people to teach, like you said, are beginners. And my favorite people to teach are not just beginners, but it's advanced students. And then I bring them back down to those beginner level steps and I go, okay, yeah, you're a silver level dancer. We're gonna go back to the box step. We're gonna go back to the basic. And then we're gonna make this what the dance is supposed to be. So we talk about the character of the dance. I don't care what your feet do. I don't care if they do it wrong. As long as you guys, as a partnership, do it together. If something's led wrong but well, and he or she follows it, like that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
It's communication.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh my God, you serve a lot of people in your life.
try,
Oh, you
try.
do. You do. Oh my goodness. So now, ah, you're so fascinating. Okay, so everyone has a why. We all have a reason why we get out of bed every day. And you know what? For me, my why in my 20s is different from me as my why as a 50-year-old, which I'm sure will be different for me when I'm 75, when I'm 100. Where you are now. What is your why? What
My
motivates?
why? Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think I want to think about what I'm giving to the world and how I will be remembered. And I don't think I thought about that like 10 years ago. Um, and I think maybe it's changed because I've been focusing so much in the last year on writing and things that will outlive me whether I want them to or not.
Mm, mm,
So, um, like who will I be to somebody who meets a version of me 20 years from now? Whether that version is in a novel or they stumble upon an interview I've given, this podcast, who am I then? Who am I to them then? Who am I to me now? I want that to be the same thing. Like I want to be able to look back on what I'm doing and giving to the world right now and think that I was doing the absolute best I could for myself and for other people. It'll change, but I know I didn't think like this 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I was just like, I want to be blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I can't even remember 10 years ago. I can't remember last week.
Evolution. It is
Yeah.
a Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also too like our goals and where we're at, and like I'm really looking at, okay, am I even going to be able to have a retirement?
Yeah.
So at 50, I'm like, okay, how many years do I have? Oh shit.
Yeah. I know. I know.
I better
It
start.
is scary. I was like, my retirement plan is uh hope I get hope I fall down at like a really fancy corporation so like they have to like give me money. I don't know. That's not a retirement plan.
You okay, like also too, okay, uh, July of 2019, my husband and I went on our first cruise, and we went with our friends from Maui who are usually they're accustomed to cruising, and so that we went on our first time. And of course, there's all kinds of dancing on
Yeah.
cruises, and so of course we danced, and of course we danced West Coast Swing to everything, and it was really cute because the people who worked on the ship were like, "Do you want to work here?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
So yeah.
"Yeah."
It's funny to get like those like dance followings when you go on a cruise. And there are I want to say it's Crystal Cruise Lines caters to an older population. So their dance teachers that they hire and their dance hosts are 50 plus. Because
Nice.
I know, I'm like, that there's my retirement plan.
And retirement would be great, but then of course COVID kind of put the
Yeah.
kibosh on that one. So, but the whole idea of being able to dance for a living and cruise to different countries.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello.
That's it.
Oh my God, that'd be great. But it was funny. My answer was, "I'm sorry, I make more money having my marketing agency." But yeah, that maybe
I
some.
know. Like the cruise, it's a great dream. And I feel like depending on the cruise line, it's different. But some of them you're like, oh, I'd have to do what?
No thanks.
I know.
Yeah, but now here's the irony. I wanted to go see the dance performances, but I was having so much fun dancing myself that it was hard for me to go rip myself away to go see other. This is the funny thing. I don't go to the ballet. I want to be dancing. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
like watch it.
The last cruise I went on was the first time, and we went with our dance studio. Um, and there was a couple days that it was kind of rocky at sea, so we were just like, let's go to the dance shows. Let's do this stuff that we normally didn't do because we were always out dancing. And we were blown away by the talent on the ship. They were doing the Broadway version of Swing the Musical on the ship.
Wow. Hello.
They were so great. And and we were going there because it was too rocky at sea to dance, and they were doing the show like as the ship was doing this. Those
Okay.
people, I was like, I might throw up for myself and also for them. Like, it was amazing. Their balance was extraordinary.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about dance. Balance. So important. So important, especially as we age. You got to have your balance
Yeah,
or get a broken hip.
I know. See, this
Yeah.
is what I'm getting scared. Oh, I feel like I've been on the sidelines for like a year. Like,
Feeling a little rusty. Yeah, me too.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, what advice do you have for anyone who is listening? Because you have
Um,
so, I love it.
I would say I'm going to keep this very, very simple. My advice for anyone who's listening is we all have little voices in our head that tell us not to do stuff. Just ignore them. I don't care if what you want to do is go take a dance lesson when you're quote unquote too old for it, or write a novel when you have no experience writing a novel. Like just just trust that sometimes the voice inside your head is actually leading you in the right direction. And then trust other people to help you, develop a team of people uh, who you can grow with and share with.
Wow. Such sage advice. Oh my gosh. Okay, everybody, it's been an hour, but oh my gosh, isn't Jen amazing? Okay, so
Isn't
how
Jen amazing?
I
Other
know
Jen amazing.
it's the Jens, it's the
It's a
Jens.
Jen's Jens.
Tell us how we can find you, your books, your dancing, like how just spill your guts. I'm gonna write this stuff down as your
The easiest place, so again, I'm going to do this short and sweet. The easiest place to find everything is my website, which is jenniferniffer.com. And that's Jennifer, Jennifer, Anne, Gordon, Gordon.com. That website has all of my books. It has my collage work and my photography and stuff like that I just kind of dabble in. Um, you can find everything. You can find my podcast that I host there. The only thing you can't find there is my dance stuff. But I think it's on there somewhere. I think it's just buried.
Are you also on YouTube? Do you have your stuff on YouTube?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and write Roman and Jennifer dance
Roman and Jennifer
or
dance.
dance, yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff will pop up. A lot of stuff from our dance studio, which is Let's Dance NH, Let's Dance New Hampshire. A lot of stuff there. So we
Uh-huh.
are there. Tango
Love.
is our best. Look at the tango.
Oh, cool. So Roman is your husband's name.
It is. It is.
That is awesome. So he was your teacher then?
He was my teacher. He's also 10 years younger than me. I know. So meow. It keeps me young. Yeah, he was my teacher. He is from St. Petersburg, Russia. He's
Wow, that's
he's
so cool.
also a fellow Leo with curly hair.
How fun.
He's blonde.
Wow. So, you know what? I have noticed that the Russian dancers are just amazing. Why is that? Is that because they grew up training their entire lives to
Yeah,
be?
so my husband, I can't speak for everybody, but he did not dance in Russia. He danced when he came to the United States. Um, he really only started about, 8 months, 12 months before I did.
And he's
But he
that's
was
cool.
my teacher, but I was a baby student, so I was like a beginner. So like, you only have to be like 2 steps ahead of your students when you
Yeah.
start teaching. Um, but I think just there was a discipline in his growing up, whether it was with sports. He was always very active, whether it was yoga, martial arts, swimming, track, soccer, like um, very, very physically active and into a level that like just in our country we're just not. Like, I think kids were put into like an Olympic training program right away
Yeah.
in Russia if they showed promise. So
Right.
where he's like, I was the fastest person running backwards and I'm like, how is that even a thing? I can't run. I look like I'm running from bees all the time.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to look you guys up on YouTube. That's awesome. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. This was super fun, and I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
really into the dancing, but if you guys know me, you know it's going to be about dancing if I can take it that way. So yay! So fellow dancers, you're welcome. And anybody thinking about dance, yeah, you're welcome. When this pandemic's over, I don't know about you, Jen, but I'm going to go crazy on the dance floor. Like I
I
cannot.
know. I know. I keep thinking that. I'm like, I just want to go to like a big band event and like
Yeah,
just dance all night and
yeah.
drink fancy cocktails.
Live music was a thing every single night, dancing every single night here in Monterey, California. It was very common. And then the pandemic hit. And live music is starting up again, but dancing is not. So
Yeah.
we're under some very strict guidelines here. And it's like I hear live music and I'm like, oh, and I'll even dance on the sidewalk if I have to. And I have.
Yeah.
Or I'll like I don't care where I'm at. If I hear music, I'm like, let's dance.
Yeah.
Okay. So
When we travel, if we see a street musician, we just like drop everything and we just dance.
yes,
So it's our thing where we're like we've danced in like every country we've ever been to. We make sure even for like 5 minutes we're like on the sidewalk. We're dancing in Germany. We're dancing in Croatia. We're dancing in Montenegro. We're dancing.
we've danced in airports. We've danced by the
We've danced in grocery stores.
yes. Okay, I'm glad I'm not. But no, you're
Oh,
and it's just so interesting when you can hear music like. And I swear lately I said I'll never complain about a band whose music I don't care for ever again. Like any live music is so precious. I'll dance to anything.
I have this one last thing before we go. Like if I hear music because I did ballroom dance for so long and did so many like social events, like if I hear a song, I immediately go like, "Oh, that's a rumba." And if I did any events with students, I my job was always to scream out like, "It's a rumba," because people were like, "What do we do here?" So we'll be in like the grocery store back when we could still do those things. I'd be like, "It's a foxtrot." Like I do it in random places, in a restaurant. My husband does it too. He's like, "It's a waltz," and people are like, What are you doing?" We're in Olive Garden.
Oh my God, I have to hang out with you guys. We
Well, we will come to California.
we must go to New Hampshire and
And I'm like, it's probably better, more exciting where you are for dance opportunities eventually.
yeah, well, event. I don't know. Are you guys open? You're not open at all. No. Well,
No, nothing, no performance things are open, no music, no dance.
nothing. Yeah, I know. Oh well, that's okay. It's not permanent.
Nope,
Remember,
and we're being safe.
Roaring Twenties are, we believe, are a direct influence from the Spanish influenza,
Yeah,
right? So I have a feeling we'll have our own like
I feel
burst.
like that too. It's going to be a bonkers decade once we live through this one.
Right, right. I love it. Truly you've been amazing. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Oh my gosh, I hope you enjoyed jenniferanngordon.com as much as I did. And we love you, and we'll see you guys later. Mwah!
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.